You were taught to be good. You were trained to be reasonable. You were conditioned to believe that if you stayed polite, worked hard, and treated people fairly, you would earn respect. You were lied to, and the proof is already in your life. Your co-worker takes credit for your work in the meeting, and you say nothing because you do not want to seem petty. Your manager shifts the blame for a decision they made onto you, and you absorb it because you want to keep your reputation clean. Your partner tells you they need space, but still expects your time, your attention, and your reassurance. And you give it because you think patience proves love. Your friends go silent when you need them, but show up the moment they need something, and you answer every time because you were taught that loyalty means availability. You are not respected in any of these situations. You are being managed, and the reason you are being managed is not that you lack skill, intelligence, or value. It is because you were never taught the most important lesson about human behavior. Morality is not a path to power, it is a leash, and the people who preach it the loudest are the ones who benefit most from your obedience. Nietzsche understood this completely. He did not see morality as a universal truth. He saw it as a social weapon, a tool used by the weak to control the strong. He called it slave morality, a system designed to make you feel guilty for your strength, ashamed of your boundaries, and obligated to those who contribute nothing. You were raised inside that system, and every time you act from guilt, from obligation, from the need to prove you are good, you confirm that the system owns you. This script will show you 7 psychological reversals that expose how deeply you have been conditioned. You will see how the behaviors you were taught to respect are the same behaviors that make you invisible. You will see how the people you were told to admire are often the ones extracting the most value from your compliance. And you will know how the things that feel wrong, cold, or selfish are often the only moves that restore your power. Most people will not finish this video. They will feel uncomfortable and leave. They will retreat into the fantasy that kindness and fairness are strategies. But if you stay, you will walk away with something they will never have: clarity. Put your phone face down and listen. If this hit you, write "I am the strategist" once in the comments, just to mark the day your mindset changed. You think silence is avoidance. You think refusing to engage is a weakness. You think walking away without explanation makes you the bad guy. You are wrong on all 3 counts. Silence is one of the most violent psychological tools you have. And the reason you do not use it is that you were trained to believe that good people always respond. Good people always explain. Good people always give closure. That training is why you have no leverage. When someone disrespects you and you immediately explain why it hurt, you hand them your emotional blueprint. You show them precisely what to say next time to manipulate you. When someone challenges your decision and you defend it with logic and reasons, you accept their authority to judge you. You step into their courtroom. You become the defendant. When someone withdraws attention and you chase them with texts, calls, questions, and apologies, you teach them that your attention is free and their absence is powerful. You invert the entire power structure. Nietzsche said the strong do not need to justify themselves. Justification is the language of the subordinate. Every time you explain yourself to someone who has not earned that explanation, you communicate that their opinion matters more than your reality. You give them a frame, and you step inside it. Here is what actually happens when you go silent. The other person is forced to face the consequences of their behavior without your reaction to distract them. They lose the ability to manage you. They lose the script, and in that absence they start to question themselves. Silence creates a vacuum, and human beings cannot tolerate a vacuum. They will either fill it with respect or remove themselves entirely. Both outcomes protect you. You do not need to announce the boundary. You do not need to explain why you are stepping back. You stop feeding the dynamic, and the people who were using you will panic. The people who respected you will adjust. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. You are not punishing anyone. You are refusing to participate in your own disrespect. That refusal alone sets you apart from 90% of people. Most people would rather exhaust themselves explaining themselves than endure the discomfort of being misunderstood. That is why they stay powerless. Being available makes you valuable. You think responding quickly makes you reliable. You believe that always being there proves you care. You are wrong again. Availability does not create value. Scarcity does. And the reason you are not valued the way you want to be is that you are everywhere all the time. You answer text immediately. You rearrange your schedule to accommodate others. You show up, even when it costs you. And what do you get in return? You get taken for granted, because the human brain does not value what it can always access. It values what it has to work for. Nietzsche talked about the will to power the drive inside every person to dominate their environment and secure their position. When you make yourself endlessly available, you remove all resistance. You become part of the environment. You become furniture. You're helpful, but not respected. Present, but not valued. The person who is always available is the person who has nothing else going on. That is the unconscious message you send every time you drop everything to respond. Now look at the people who have leverage over you. They do not answer right away. They do not explain their schedule. They do not apologize for being busy. And you respect them more because of it. You work harder to get their attention. You feel more excited when they finally respond. You value the time they give you because it is rare. They did not do anything cruel. They just refused to be common. You can do the same thing. Stop answering immediately. Stop clearing your calendar for people who would not do the same for you. Stop being the person everyone knows they can reach at any time. Create distance. Let people wonder. Let them notice your absence, and watch how quickly the dynamic shifts. The ones who are using you will complain. They will call you distant, cold, or different. That is confirmation. They are upset because they lost access. The ones who actually value you will respect the boundary and meet you with the same energy. You do not need to explain the shift. You apply it. Silence and scarcity work together. One removes your reaction. The other removes your presence. Together, they destroy the expectation that you are controllable. You think anger gives you power. You think confrontation proves strength. You think raising your voice or showing emotion makes people take you seriously. That is another inversion. Anger is not power. Anger is evidence that you lost control. The person who has power does not need to raise their voice. They do not need to argue. They do not need to convince. They withdraw consequences and let reality do the work. When you argue with someone who disrespected you, you give them another chance to perform. You provide them with a stage. You allow them to defend themselves, twist the narrative, and make you look unreasonable. You enter their frame again. But when you go cold instead of loud, everything changes. No argument, no explanation. Just a temperature drop. Your tone stays neutral. Your face remains calm. But your energy completely shifts. You stop laughing at their jokes. You stop engaging in their conversations. You stop offering your time. You become polite but distant, present but unavailable. This creates something far more powerful than fear. It creates uncertainty. The other person does not know what they did wrong. They do not know how to fix it. And because you are not giving them the satisfaction of a reaction, they cannot dismiss you as emotional or dramatic. They are forced to confront the fact that they lost access to you, and they do not know why. That uncertainty eats at them. They start adjusting their behavior. They start trying to win you back, not because you asked, not because you explained, but because you removed yourself as a resource. Nietzsche said that the most powerful people do not destroy their enemies. They make their enemies irrelevant. When you detach emotionally, you do exactly that. You stop seeing the person as someone who can hurt you. You see them as someone who no longer has access. And that shift in perspective is what protects you. You are not fighting anymore. You are not available to be disrespected. Most people cannot do this. They are too attached to being understood, too desperate to be seen as right. That desperation keeps them trapped in cycles of conflict that drain them and solve nothing. You do not need to be right. You need to be unavailable to people who do not value you. You think compromise shows maturity. You think meeting people halfway is fair. You think flexibility makes you reasonable. And in some contexts that might be true, but in relationships where respect is already unequal, compromise is just another word for losing ground. Every time you compromise with someone who does not compromise with you, you move closer to their frame and further from your own. You teach them that if they push hard enough, you will fold. If they withdraw long enough, you will chase. If they create enough tension, you will be the one to fix it. That is not maturity. That is not maturity. Nietzsche talked about master morality versus slave morality. Master morality is defined by strength, self-determination, and the refusal to apologize for power. Slave morality is determined by guilt, obligation, and the belief that suffering makes you virtuous. When you compromise from a place of fear or shame, you are operating in slave morality. You are not choosing to meet someone halfway. You are submitting because you are afraid of conflict, loss, or being seen as difficult. Here is the shift. Stop compromising on what matters to you. Stop pretending your boundaries are negotiable to keep the peace. The peace you are keeping is not peace. It is your silence. It is your surrender. Absolute respect does not require you to shrink. If someone cannot handle your boundaries, they do not respect you. They respect the version of you that does not resist. And that version is not real. It is a performance. When you stop performing, some people will leave. Let them. They were never respecting you anyway. They were managing you. The people who stay after you set real boundaries are the only people worth your time, and you will notice something immediately. You will feel lighter. You will feel more in control, not because you won some battle, but because you stopped fighting for people who were never on your side. That clarity alone is worth the discomfort. Compromise is only valuable when both people have equal power. In every other case, it is just a polite way of saying losing. You think loyalty is a virtue. You think standing by people through difficulty proves your character. You think leaving when things get hard makes you weak or selfish. This belief has cost you more than anything else, because while you were being loyal, the other person was being conditional. You stayed when they were cold. You stayed when they were absent. You stayed when they disrespected you, betrayed you, or took you for granted, and you told yourself that absolute loyalty means staying through it all. You were wrong. Loyalty is not unconditional. Loyalty is reciprocal, and the moment someone stops being loyal to you, your loyalty to them becomes self-destruction. Nietzsche said, "The snake which cannot cast its skin has to die." You cannot grow while you're still attached to people who keep you small. You cannot build power while you are pouring energy into people who do not value it. But you were taught that walking away is giving up. You were taught that cutting people off is cold. So you stay longer than you should. You tolerate more than you should, and you call it strength when it is actually fear. Here is what loyalty actually looks like. You are loyal to people who are faithful to you. You invest in people who invest in you. You protect people who would protect you. And the moment that reciprocity breaks, you adjust. Not with anger, not with drama, just with distance. You do not owe anyone an explanation for why you are no longer available. You do not owe anyone a breakdown of how they failed you. You stop showing up the way you used to. And if they notice and they care, they will ask. If they do not see, that tells you everything. Most people will not ask. They will move on to the next person willing to tolerate them. And that is fine. Let them go. You are not here to save people who are not trying to save themselves. You are not here to be the exception to someone's pattern of using people. You are here to build a life where your energy is protected and your time is respected. And that will never happen if you keep calling endurance loyalty. Loyalty without reciprocity is not love. It is a leash, and you are the one holding it. You think being understanding makes you mature. You think seeing all sides makes you wise. You believe empathy for people who hurt you proves you are evolved. It does not. It proves you are afraid to choose yourself. Understanding is helpful when it leads to clarity, but most of the time you are not using understanding to protect yourself. You are using it to excuse the people who hurt you. They were stressed. They were going through something. They did not mean it that way. You create narratives that let them off the hook. And every time you do that, you train yourself to accept less. You teach your mind that your pain is negotiable, that your boundaries are flexible, that other people's intentions matter more than your experience. This is slave morality at its purest. The belief that your suffering is noble, that your patience will be rewarded. If you keep understanding, people will eventually value you. They will not. They will learn that you are easy to manage. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But the inverse is also true. If you do not have a strong enough reason to protect yourself, you will tolerate anything. And right now, the reason you tolerate disrespect is that you are more afraid of being alone than you are of being disrespected. You are more afraid of being seen as cold than you are of being used. You are more scared of losing people than you are of losing yourself. That fear is what keeps you trapped. Here is the shift. Stop trying to understand people who do not try to understand you. Stop making excuses for behavior you would never accept from yourself. Stop being so empathetic that you erase your own reality. Empathy is not a virtue when it costs you your dignity. You do not have to be cruel. You do not have to attack. You have to stop pretending that understanding someone means you have to tolerate them. You can understand exactly why someone behaves the way they do and still decide they do not get access to you. That decision is not heartless. It is self-respect. Here is what happens when you stop being so understanding. People stop testing you. They stop seeing how much they can get away with. They stop treating you like a therapist, an emotional dumping ground, or a free resource. They either step up or step out. And both of those outcomes are better than what you have now. You do not need people in your life who only respect you when you stop being nice. You need people who respect you by default, and the only way to find those people is to stop tolerating everyone else. That means you will spend time alone. That means some relationships will end. That means you will be misunderstood. And all of that is still better than spending your life making yourself smaller so other people feel comfortable. Nietzsche also said, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe." You are in that struggle right now, and every time you choose understanding over boundaries, you lose. You have been told that explaining yourself is respectful, defending your decisions is reasonable, that if someone questions you, you owe them an answer. You do not. Explanation is not respect. Explanation is submission. Every time you explain yourself to someone who did not earn that access, you hand them authority over you. You step into their evaluation. You let them decide whether your reason is good enough. And no matter what you say, they will find a way to dismiss it. The goal was never to understand you. The goal was to make you justify yourself. Once you are justifying yourself, they are in control. This happens everywhere. At work, when you take a day off, your manager asks why. In relationships, when you say no, your partner demands a reason. With friends, when you set a boundary, and they ask, "What changed?" The question is not neutral. The question is a test. It is checking whether you believe you need permission. And the moment you start explaining, you confirm that you do. Nietzsche understood that power does not explain itself. Power is. The king does not justify his decisions to the peasant. The master does not define his boundaries to the enslaved person. And before you react to that language, understand what it is really saying. It is not about cruelty. It is about the frame. The person who has to explain is operating in someone else's frame. The person who does not explain is operating in their own. When you stop explaining, you reclaim your frame. You stop accepting the premise that someone else has the right to interrogate you. You stop performing for their approval, and you force them to either respect your decision or reveal that they never respected you in the first place. Most people will react badly. They will call you defensive, secretive, or distant. Let them. Their discomfort is proof that you've just reclaimed your power. They are upset because they lost the ability to manage you. That is precisely what you want. Here is how you apply this. When someone asks why you made a decision, you do not explain. You restate the decision. "I am not available that day. I have decided not to continue this. That does not work for me. No reasons. No justifications, no apologies. If they push, you stay calm. I have already answered. If they try again, you go silent. You do not owe anyone a dissertation on your choices. You do not owe anyone access to your internal process. The only people who deserve an explanation are the people who trust you enough not to demand one. Everyone else is testing you, and the way you pass that test is by refusing to take it. You are not being rude. You are being sovereign. And sovereignty is what separates people who are respected from people who are managed. Now let's talk about what happens when you apply all of this. When you stop explaining, stop chasing, stop compromising, stop being endlessly available, stop tolerating disrespect in the name of understanding, you become socially expensive. That is the goal. You are no longer the person people can call at midnight because they know you will answer. You are no longer the person who takes on the blame to keep the peace. You are no longer the person who gives chance after chance after chance. You become the person people have to earn. And most people will not want to do that work. They will drift away. They will call you different, cold, or changed. And they are right. You did change. You stopped being easy to use. The people who stay will be different too. They will not test you as much. They will not expect you to carry them. They will show up with the same energy you do. And for the first time, your relationships will feel balanced. But here is what nobody tells you. That transition is lonely. You will lose people you thought were close to you. People will misunderstand you. You thought you knew. You will sit with the discomfort of being seen as the villain in someone else's story. And you will have moments where you question whether it was worth it. That doubt is normal. It is your conditioning trying to pull you back. Your entire life you were rewarded for being agreeable. You were praised for being understanding. You were valued for being available. And now you are doing the opposite. Of course, it feels wrong. But feelings are not facts. The fact is that you were not respected before. You were tolerated. You were useful. But you were not respected. And now you are building something different. You are creating a life where your time is protected, your energy is valued, and your boundaries are non-negotiable. That life does not include everyone, and that is the point. Nietzsche said, "The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly." You will appear cold to people who are used to your warmth. You will appear selfish to people who are used to your generosity. You will appear distant to people who are used to your availability. Let them think that. Their perception of you is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to stop betraying yourself for people who would never do the same for you. Your responsibility is to stop treating your boundaries like suggestions. Your responsibility is to build a life where you are not performing for approval, managing other people's emotions, or explaining yourself into exhaustion. That life exists, but it requires you to let go of the version of yourself that everyone else prefers, the version that says yes, the version that stays quiet, the version that always understands. That version kept you safe, but it did not make you powerful. Here is your challenge. Pick one person in your life who takes more than they give, one person who only reaches out when they need something, one person who disrespects your boundaries and expects you to tolerate it, and go cold. Not loud, not angry, just unavailable. Stop initiating, stop explaining, stop being the one who makes it easy, and watch what happens. If they notice and they adjust, you will know they actually value you. If they do not see, you will know they never did. Either way, you win. Because you are no longer giving your energy to people who do not deserve it. You are no longer staying in dynamics that drain you. You are no longer pretending that loyalty without reciprocity is love. If you found value in this, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this. And if this hit you, write "I am the strategist" once in the comments, just to mark the day your mindset changed. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be respected. And respect only comes when you stop being easy to manage. This is who you are now.